Okay, guys, my sub Fine Wine directed me to this video, this more controlled opposition, this time from India. So this is the Indian MRM and what they do. This is men's issues, so they give the podium to a woman, right? And you're going to see this woman, the Pika, is going to have controlled opposition. Let's see. Men's issue, Johnny Depp.
Every male friend group has its own WhatsApp group or Instagram group where, we send memes to each other, we talk to each other, we almost vent also sometimes. And on one of my
Notice how happy this guy is to talk to a woman, to the opposition.
bro group, someone sent a meme of Will Smith and Johnny Depp. And the meme said that no matter how successful you become in your career or how rich and famous you become, if your partner is the wrong partner or chooses to do the wrong things, your life will be ruined.
He's right, but she's not really a partner, is she? Guys, if this was a partnership, if men and women had partnerships, then they would exchange engagement rings. It wouldn't be a one-way trip from man to woman, right? It's never a partnership. The man is bribing the woman.
What do you have to say about that?
I think in today's times, it is absolutely important. While it is important to have the right partner, but there's no formula to have the right partner, right? And there are a lot of traits that we attach to men for thinking or considering that it's a good man or a right man.
So what does this choosing a partner business have anything to do with the legal system being the way it is? It's nothing, right?
We don't really have that many traits that we attach to women.
Okay, I'm correcting myself. It does have something to do, but it's not choosing the right partner. It's how women view men. The situation in India, the legal system is the way it is because both men and women don't like men. And both men and women like women. That's it.
Men, that this is the right woman. The general thinking is all women are right, all women are good. But then now there are just so many men who are suffering in relationships and they're trying to talk about themselves. And one, I'm not too sure if the word.
They're trying to talk them to the, about their issues. And here's the MRM interviewing a woman. Well, their efforts will always lead to failure, won't they?
Is still ready to listen to men's issues and men's problem. But when cases like a Johnny Depp comes out, then at least the conversation starts, which is good, I think, which is great, I think. It is very painful for men who go through something like that.
Why don't you give some context on the case for listeners who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about?
So Amber Heard went out with a public article calling herself a victim of extreme domestic violence, and she was a champion of women's rights or
exactly. That's what women's rights are, everyone. She was a champion of women's rights. So these women's rights looked at this woman who was obviously guilty, and supported her because women's rights are not about women's rights. They're about extinguishing men's rights. It's a hate group. So she's admitting that.
Women's sufferings, sort of to say, during the whole Me Too movement as well. And
the Me Too movement, of course, is a criminal movement. It's a way of jailing innocent men.
She had put very serious allegations on Johnny Depp. That's when Johnny Depp said, it's not Amber Heard who is the victim of domestic violence in this relationship, it is me.
And also the context here is Johnny Depp was one of the most legendary movie stars at the time. And in many ways, this kind of ended his career.
There's a friend of mine who runs this platform called Men Stay Out. And she...
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter how high up on the ladder you are. There is no alpha male, guys, that women prefer and get treated well and treated with respect.
Created an image which actually went viral, which said, no matter what's the outcome of this case, I have lost my life. I've lost everything that I had. I have nothing more to lose. Even before the verdict was passed, I was declared guilty.
Exactly. That's right. And why is that? It's the very core of the nature of men and women.
Thrown out of projects. He has suffered so much. I just hope there is something that becomes better for him here on. But I'm not too sure if whatever was done to him, if there would be similar kind of repercussions now for Amber, that a lot of people now know what was the truth.
I just want to step in here and speak a little bit to Johnny Depp. We'll make this clip reach him. I have a common friend.
Okay.
Johnny, if you're watching this and if you're listening to this, know what you did for a lot of men worldwide as well.
Oh.
Johnny didn't do shit for men. Johnny didn't do shit for men. He dusted himself off and moved on with his life. He's never engaged in activism against this kind of disgusting sexual discrimination against men at all. He squirmed out from under a rock, dusted himself off, and continued on. All these male celebs that have been crushed, none of them get together and start and unite and do something. None.
Through your own suffering.
Absolutely.
So there was purpose behind the suffering as well. That's all I want to put out there.
There's no purpose behind the suffering other than make the man suffer. Come on, dude. You don't say that for women. You don't say these women, you brag women getting abused by men. You don't say there's purpose to their suffering. You said they're suffering and we got to stop it.
Something that I want to specifically say about this, and this is what the trial ended with, where Amber Heard tells Johnny Depp, Johnny, you're going to tell the world you're a victim of domestic violence? Go tell it. Let's see who believes you and who stands by you. That these are very strong statements. And
yeah, and they're accurate statements because it was only due to his fame, his female fan base supporting him, that he was able to get out of this at all. And the media didn't realize what it was going to turn into. If the media knew better, if it could have, crystal ball to see the future, it would never have covered the case.
Because Johnny is so famous and he's a star, people are getting to know the realities. But trust me, Ranveer, there are endless men out there who are actually the ones abused in the relationship, but they're told every time, dare you go and say this, and nobody's going to believe you.
Okay, so I shouldn't be hearing anything from you about women's situation.
Because everybody believes that if the man is coming out and saying he's a victim of domestic violence, he must have himself done something wrong, which was the initial reactions in this case also.
Could you highlight some of the things Johnny had to go through?
Well, professional, personal, his kids, his image. Just imagine the good work that he had done over years. Now there are a lot of people who are coming out from the industry and supporting him, that, they had never seen him misbehave. He had been the kindest man and he has done so much of.
And again, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if he's the kindest man. Dirtbags deserve their day in court. They deserve a justice system, right? Okay, we'll get to her story of purpose. So this is about her. This is a men's rights issue channel talking about this woman.
About this. Majority of people, whosoever get to know about my work, the biggest question is why? Why would a woman do this? Because it's a fact that women have suffered, women suffer.
There you go. They invited this woman on to smear men as abusers of women. Yeah. This is standard for the MRM, not just in India, but everywhere, right? These men aren't interested in fighting for the rights. They want to extend olive branches to their oppressors. That's what they want to do.
And there's so many women who go through wrongs at the hands of men, you know. So for a woman to talk for men is
Like I said, this woman should be keeping her mouth shut over this. She admitted herself. It's people believe women, so it's women have no issues.
quite a, you know, something that people find it hard to accept. Why it started is I was absolutely unaware of this realm, and
How would you be unaware of how you and your own gender behave?
I was working as a journalist with a company called Exchange for Media, and I personally went through this experience where the marriage in my own family broke down because the woman was at fault. I don't want to delve too deep into this, but
Yeah, she's not going to delve deeply into it because it'll demonize a woman. Yeah, this isn't controlled opposition, right?
we had very um, uh, strong evidences to prove that it was not a case of dowry, it was not a case of domestic violence, it was a case of adultery by the woman. And we had
This says something about women's character too, right? The women want to sleep with other men, you know. That's something that guys get accused of all the time, infidelity. And she's willing to burn the house down rather than face the consequences. Her consequences would be much lighter, right? The worst case scenario is the woman gets the man divorces the woman and she doesn't get a free ride from him. Maybe she'll get a little bit of shaming language. But these men are getting thrown behind bars and their lives are being destroyed. So she's willing to do the worst damage she can to avoid a little bit on herself. Okay?
had solid evidences in our hands. But when the marriage, when it was decided that that there would be a mutual consent divorce, the other side withdrew that, and then they hurled allegations of dowry demand, domestic violence, and choking the woman. I was dumbstruck. Like I was like, how can somebody lie through their teeth like this? And when I started talking to people, like I knew there is issue of dowry, immense issue of dowry demands and domestic violence due to dowry.
Yeah, you start talking to people only when it happened to you personally. Otherwise, you didn't give a shit. Do you hear that, guys? Women do not give a shit about equality for men. Actually, I take that back. They do care. They want to make sure men don't get it. That's why this woman is controlled opposition here. In the end, she is working to smooth things over and say, look, there are good women out there. Just go to sleep. Don't get angry. Don't see us as the oppressors we are, right? Just forget about this. That's what's going on here.
In India, but I did not have any clue about this side of the world, that the laws misuse of laws and things like that. So when I started talking to people, what came out was very, I would say, distressing. We were told you'll be accused, there will be FIR filed on you, there'll be a criminal case filed on you. No matter how many evidences you have, you'll have to suffer for 4-5 years, and only then your side will come to a hearing in the court. Until
Well, then he doesn't have the side. If he's punished at the beginning, then there is no side. There's no getting the man's life back.
By then you will be arrested, your entire family would be arrested, old parents would be arrested as well. And
the parents will be arrested. I have a video showing where a woman and her baby was arrested simply because they were related to the man they were accusing. This is how woman worshiping the Indian culture is. This is what patriarchy actually is. It's matriarchy. There is no patriarchy. All patriarchies are matriarchies. They're willing to attack not only the man, but his entire family for a woman. That's how socially dominant they are.
Woman has real upper hand in these cases. And I was like, this is not
really, women have an upper hand in a patriarchy? How can that be?
Okay. This is just not okay. The laws should be there to protect women, but if they're going to use that as a weapon against the man and his family, that's absolutely wrong. So that's when I decided to make martyrs of marriage. Now, what is IPC?
That's quite a title. Martyrs of marriage, right? You're martyr for the cause of marriage, right? It's not an apt title. It should be women are oppressors of men or something along that line. Then she would be accurate.
498A. The law was brought in the aftermaths of a lot of dowry deaths that happened in the 80s. There was
80s. So this has been going on for 45 years, or at least 40 years. I mean, so this woman, she's unaware of something that's been going on for 2 generations that she was grown up with, right?
this new law that was brought. It criminalizes demand of dowry.
So what it is it's not that people are unaware of men suffering. They want men suffering. It's only when men she personally knows get on the grinding axe, or underneath the axe. That's when she says, okay, this is going too far. This is affecting me personally.
Or mental or physical cruelty on a married woman by her husband or his relatives. And the cruelty is to the extent which...
And this is something that gets left out too. How much of this cruelty by the relatives are from female relatives? Mainly like the mother's the one who says, I want my boy and all the men in my family to circle around me, not some new girl, right?
drives a woman to suicide. But what started happening was any dispute, incompatibility, the guy is not earning much, the woman is not able...
The guy isn't earning much. What's that got to do with anything? I thought they were partners. The guy's not earning much. She can go out and earn. Go get a job, you lazy bums.
to stay with the relatives or the in-laws. She wants an independent place. She doesn't like staying with the in-laws, or she falls in love with somebody else. Myriad problems, one solution.
Yeah, she doesn't want to stay with the in-laws. In other words, I'm entirely for myself. This marriage revolves around me. Right.
IPC 498A on the husband, and then his trial begins.
I also believe the law is pretty wide in terms of they categorize actual physical violence from the man in the same category as something very soft, like just an argument.
Of course, it's all included. That's how it works, dude. That's how it works. They throw in all the soft stuff in with the hard stuff, so everything is. That's why the term is usually vague, or it's strong. It's like to use the R word for a guy bumping up against a woman by accident, right? And people always, they hear the strong word and they think, this man doing something terrible to this woman, that the man's choking her out when they're really just raising their voices to one another. That's its purpose.
Will be looked at in the same way.
Absolutely.
And that's the actual core of this problem.
See, the whole thing is, Ranveer, it doesn't take anything.
The core of the problem is women don't like men, dude. So there's no point you having a woman on the podium trying to speak for you.
In India to put an allegation, especially in crimes against women, on the FIR. And then
there you go, crimes against women. Why are you even bringing that up? You're for men here, right?
The man has charges under the IPC for every allegation that you make. The cases are not investigated at the initial stages. While people say that FIR is just a first information report, but
notice they're bringing up what's going on, but there's never any doing anything about it. These are all just talk sessions. This has been going on for years now. How come nothing has changed? Because this man here isn't interested in changing anything. He's interested in talking to a woman, right? The MRM, no matter what country they're from, it's just another dating site. It's just trying to get together with women.
A criminal case and an FIR means a lot. If the person is in a government job, he has immense repercussions. If he's in a private job also, he has immense repercussions. The reason I made Martyrs of Marriage was that when this happened with us, there was a lot of, again, like you said in the beginning, mental health issues that, cropped up in the family. My brother went into depression. My father went into depression.
Yeah, exactly, guys. Now look, this is affecting her father and her brother. The effect on her is very tangential. So why is she here? Why isn't this guy talking to her brother and her father? Because he doesn't give a shit about men. He wants this woman here so he can bask in her glow.
And that was very difficult for me to deal with. I was kind of a strong pillar
That was difficult for you to deal with. How about your brother and father?
standing over there, dealing with everything. But it pained me to see us suffer because of something like this. So,
Again, it's only when someone she personally knows and cares about gets affected that now it's an issue. All the other strange men, that doesn't mean anything to her. They can just go rot. There's no justice. There's no sense of justice at all in the average woman. This is the average woman he's talking to.
I have seen in my personal life an attempt to suicide very close because of these issues. What triggered me to get into this space was when something like this happens. Abhi bhi India mein divorce is still a taboo. In middle class families, in lower middle class families, किसी का divorce हो रहा है, that means immense social shame. Or
Exactly. So, like I said, it's still shameful to women, right? And so they want to burn the house down rather than face shame. So there's no morality to women at all. Matter of fact, why bring this up at all? Because they do the same thing in the Western cultures where there isn't a big shame for divorce. There's no shame for divorce over here. And yet women do the same thing. They do false allegations, accuse the man of sexual assault and sex with minors, with their own children and everything else. Because the women hate the men. They never liked the man. They were using them in their marriage, and when they parted, they're burning the house down. They're destroying the man utterly.
ऐसा केस लग जाना तो मतलब you cannot imagine the kind of trauma that parents go through. And I realized that a lot of people have ended their life because of being implicated in a false case of dowry. And my only intention was I wanted these suicides to stop, while of course bringing awareness.
Is it your only attention, or the fact that you get your face shown on camera? Your father and your brother suffer, and you're the one who gets her face shown on camera. You gain status by pretending that you are on men's side.
On the law misuse. Because सबसे बड़ी चीज क्या होती है, when you're into this situation, you feel stuck. Your own family members distance. Again, the stereotype. आदमी ने कुछ गलत किया होगा, नहीं तो ऐसे औरत कोई केस नहीं करेगी. But that's not true.
I just want to add two pieces of context here.
Sure.
The first is all forms of suffering should turn into purpose. And that's the only way suffering should be looked at. So
Really, all suffering should be turned into purpose. So what's the purpose of men suffering like this, dude? Other than to suffer. Again, this is in relationships where it's supposed to be a partnership and the woman's supposed to love the man. So you're admitting that the gender relationships are suffering for men. And there's purpose to that.
firstly, one thank you on behalf of every man out there. Second, though I've thanked you before as well, I need to do it again. You don't know what you're doing for a lot of men. Secondly, in the documentary, there was this one part where you brought on a lawyer called Miss Mrinalini, I believe.
Yeah.
Who said that she's a divorce lawyer, I believe. And she's fought on behalf of men and women. She's an experienced lawyer, and she said that basically what she has noticed is that 498A, especially this section, is often kind of turned against the man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so women are experienced. There's a female lawyer. She knows exactly what's going on in the legal system. She has no interest in changing it for the better. Because as far as she's concerned, it's all right. She's a woman, she benefits.
Again, she didn't quantify, she didn't put how many number of men have to suffer because of this. And this
Yeah, she doesn't quantify. Of course she doesn't quantify, because she's not going to demonize her own sex.
taking nothing away from the women who rightfully use 498A. But in the current scenario,
So see what these olive branches, the women who rightfully use 498. Dude, you should not be speaking like that. You're speaking to your oppressor. You know, you think of yourself as talking to a member of the KKK. You don't open an olive branch. You shame them and blame them. Say, look what you're doing to us.
according to the laws of our country, too many men are suffering because of this situation. So, I hear you and I hear
They're suffering because women are attacking them. That's the actual framing of this issue.
your pain and I feel it as well. I still believe that, and maybe this is breaking away from podcasting with you and just meeting you as a person.
Yeah, see, it's like, imagine a black guy bringing up the KKK or a Jewish man, bringing up KKK. Here, we're just having a discussion with one another, a friendly discussion. You know, you guys keep burning crosses on our lawns and lynching us, but let's try and get to understand one another.
Do you look at it from a sense of purpose, that like when you look back at the situation, do you understand what you're doing for Indian men out there now? And maybe you had to go through that difficult moment of seeing the people closest to you go.
He hasn't done shit for the men of India. What's the Western counterpart here? I'm trying to remember her name. But these women just make documentaries talking about the issue and misframing it often, right? Cassie J. Cassie J is the Western version of this woman, Deepika. All they do is garner attention for themselves, leech off of the MRM, get babied and worshipped at by the MRM, and they achieve nothing, right? Let's say, let's get beyond her story. Red flags in relationships, right? So this is just choose the right girl again.
And often I have noticed that those relationships break. But please correct me if I'm wrong or anything like that. Have you noticed any other patterns?
There are a lot of patterns, Ranveer. But again, since I come a lot from the legal space as well, along with the emotional space, I think each case has its own,
Unique.
unique specifics.
Yeah, not all women are bad. Each case has its specifics, right? Even though the mode of attack is all the same and all the motivation's the same. You want to harm the man, you lie, and you use this 948. So the desires are all the same. The mode of committing the act, the criminal act, is all the same, but each woman's situation is very different, right? See, this is controlled opposition, everybody, right here. We're not all bad, right?
We can tie up a lot of researches and lot of analysis into one thing, but again, repeating, there's no formula as such. But you brought out a very important point. Your friends, your family, they know you in and out. You may be in a zone where you are completely in love, obsessed and everything, can't see through shades and everything, even if they are visible red flags.
This is victim blaming, right? Because the family aren't in love with this woman, and yet they allow this to happen. The family they're happy with the laws being the way that they are until they get thrown in jail themselves, right? So you can't blame the man for being in love. Everybody's in on this.
You wouldn't see that. But yes, you must. You should listen to people who know you the best.
Also, what matters if the woman's a good or bad person when the legal system is not legal for men? It's a criminal act against men. What she's saying is if all the women are good, then it doesn't matter that you're discriminated against sexually, right? You're discriminated against legally. It doesn't matter, right? Just choose the right girl rather than changing the legal system, right? This is controlled opposition.
That's very important. More than that, what I am seeing a lot happening nowadays, Ranveer, is these like love, care, all of those things are fine. Marriage, a long-term marriage. Now, I'm not married, so people would probably question me, how is she giving gyan on marriage? But then I've seen
You're not married because you don't want to be. Women, the only reason women get married is to use a man, but they don't really want to be married to men. This woman's a good example of it. Get to know that, trad cons.
endless marriages falling apart. So I
Yeah.
perhaps probably
I think you're an authority on the subject, so I
I
don't.
wouldn't
Yeah, you're an authority on the subject, right? Not us guys, who go through this hell. I mean, our lived experiences don't mean shit. You're female,
call myself an authority, but then yes, I have endless experience of especially why it didn't work. So that gives you a lot of
Context.
perspective.
So she has experience of why it didn't work. Again, that has nothing to do with the legal discrimination men suffer in India, right? This isn't about the relationship, right? This is about the legal system. But the legal system is the way it is because of the wider relationship between men and women. Women don't like men and strip men of their rights all the time. And men don't like men, so they're willing to see other men suffer. That's what this is about. Okay, forget the red flags. Let's see, lawsuit for women, real experiences. Oh my God. Strengths of both genders. We're going to end it here because for him to mention this proves that the MRM is ineffectual. It's like a black guy saying, the strengths of the KKK and us, we both have weaknesses and strengths. That's why black men need the KKK members.
Agree with you. There are a lot of things that we can learn from each other, and if those traits make you a better human being, then why not? I mean, femininity is not a weakness. I think it's a lot of strength.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is a nice end to the podcast as well. I'd love for you to just highlight the strength. I won't say strengths of men and women, considering all.
Oh my God. Talk about female worship. This woman is your enemy, dipshit. She and every other woman is the reason why you have no rights. And here you are just begging the woman to come and pay attention to you so you can worship her and grovel at her feet. Make me puke. And when this is why the MRM has been useless in the West for 50 years. 50. It's going on 3 generations of uselessness. Because men can't get over their worship. They can't come to terms that women don't like them. So this whole interview is an insult to men in general. And this guy is actually working against men's interest by having this interview and framing things as he is. Just more controlled opposition.